If you've been following along with this series, you know this name, Tyrone Johnson, one of the biggest hitters in our entire organization who's got unlimited power from the plate. Well, Tyrone had an interesting upbringing, and he was a guy that defied all odds. In high school, he went to a very big high school, and being 6'4" as a sophomore, he was pretty much prompted to be an offensive lineman, even a defensive lineman. But Johnson had a very, very young love for baseball, dating back to when Frank Thomas was even playing. He was a guy that he really looked up to and a guy that he really models his game after. Now, Johnson's got some work to do in order to be a full-time MLB player. Can he show that he can be a defensive outfielder or even a defensive first baseman? Or will he just be a one-trick pony? Well, only time will tell, but Johnson has unlimited potential. I guess we'll have to see. Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to the Indianapolis franchise. Now, to start this episode, I do have a quick disclaimer. Now, if you play on Xbox, you have the quick resume feature, and if you don't save your work and your Xbox shuts off, sometimes you will miss a lot of your saves. So make sure you are saving your game. That's what happened here. I actually did not save there at the trade deadline, so I had to go back and remake the trades and simulate to this point, and it actually kind of worked out because I didn't, play any of these games. I just actually simulated, and it looks like Indianapolis won the final 5 games of the month and 9 of the last 10 games of the month. So an incredible ending to the month of July as we ended the trade deadline, and we will kind of recap that here in this episode as well to kick off the month of August. We will be viewing the rest of our draft picks ratings as well this episode, so stay tuned for that. But the Heralds are 52-58. We are competitive here in season number 2, and we don't even have a top 28 ranked team in the MLB. At the deadline, we acquired Lane Thomas from the Nationals for some peanuts. That was an excellent trade. We then turned around and used one of those prospects, Cameron Misner, to acquire Babe Miller, who we passed on in the draft. Unfortunately, we had to give up Eric Lauer, who was our first pick in the expansion draft when this series started, but we acquired a 23-year-old pitcher out of Penn State University, Babe Miller, who I think is going to develop into something very, very special. And since acquiring him, he's already gone up 1 overall. So he is right now the second best rated starting pitcher in the organization. But I'm not going to move him up to the MLB level. I'm going to continue to let him develop because this year is all about development anyway. Then we acquired Lane Thomas, so we traded 5 players total, including Brandon Crawford, who was hitting 300 at the deadline, and then obviously Eric Lauer, who was our number 2 in our rotation. But we know we are embracing the rebuild, so we want to add guys who will add to the future. And Lane Thomas, I think, is very, very good defensively, and he's got excellent speed, so I think he's a guy that can contribute to this team. He's also hitting 290 on the year, which is second on our team after acquiring him. Seth Beer is hitting actually really, really good in his first full year at the majors, hitting 270. I wish he was slugging a little bit better. Only 8 home runs is pretty surprising. I thought he would have at least like 15 at this point. I thought he would be probably a 20 home run hitter in his first year, but he's only got 8 so far. Ian Happ leads us in home runs with 18 right now. Lane Thomas has 13. And then Raimel Tapia has 3, hitting 262. But Paulo Reyes is the leader for Rookie of the Year here in season number 2. He has been our bright spot. We made a good decision on moving him up in the beginning of the year to the MLB level, and he has stuck ever since. D. Gordon's hitting 250. Francisco Mejia's hitting 250. We know Mejia that's what he's going to be. He's not going to be much more than that. Pat Washington only hitting 237. And Connor Weigman is down at 210. Now, he was hitting below 200, so I do see some improvement there. But I'm just going to ride this out. I want to see him recover out of, the rough spells of being an MLB player as well. A part of that, we're going to move him back over to third base and put him at his natural position, kind of preparing him for next season, because obviously we'll have Ray Gonzalez, Lievo Peguero, who has been at shortstop this year as well a little bit, and then Steven Benitez. They're all going to be competing for the starting shortstop job next season. So we definitely want to move Connor Wiegman to third base, and it's great to have a great fielding third baseman as well. Here's what our rotation looks like after that trade. Obviously, we have to supplement a starting rotation spot, so we move Carlos Hernandez into that 5th rotation spot, and we don't have a long reliever anymore. But how about our bullpen? We moved up 18-year-old Jacob Modano, who we drafted in the 2nd round in year 1 of the MLB player draft, and he is pitching amazingly, like a whip below 1, 20-something innings pitched. Like, he is on a tear. And so is Jalen Beeks, who we acquired for Williams Estudillo. That seemed like a steal, and I am excited for Jalen Beeks because we now have an opportunity to exclusively negotiate his contract long term, so we will have a good reliever. And then also Ronaldo Lopez. So we have 3 dominant pitchers in our bullpen, and it shouldn't go overlooked. Like, having 3 guys that can really come in and shut it down, especially an 18-year-old, that speaks volumes. So now what you guys have been waiting for, viewing our draft picks, and here we go. Terrell Blake, and we pronounce it Terrell, not Terrell. Terrell Blake ends up being the number 1 overall pick in this draft, 67 overall, which is actually really good, 85 potential, which is good. Obviously not an A potential, but we scouted the top 3 pitchers in the draft that we had ranked, and it was Terrell Blake along with other guys who you will see later. But I think Blake, to me, had the most upside all around, and that's why I selected him number 1. Zeke Barrero ends up being another 85 potential guy, so this is actually a pretty good pick in a compensatory round A pick, so he ends up being only 59 overall. Obviously, he'll need a few years of development. Bruno Reyes was picked number 38 in the draft. He ends up being 71 overall, a very, very good hitter and an excellent fielder. I mean, a high overall for an 18-year-old player right away. The thing is, his upside isn't very good. He's only 70 potential. I'm disappointed with that. Rafael Serna Ruiz, who I really liked as a hitter and a potential corner outfielder. He's got an excellent arm at 18 years old at 84. He's going to be elite for his arm strength when he does develop a little bit, but he's got a little bit of a time gap to develop into an MLB level player. But one guy I'm really excited about is Keith Rice. He is 75 overall right now as a 22-year-old and 75 potential. Obviously, the ceiling isn't high, but the floor is 75. So he is going to be a guy that I could see competing for an outfield job right away. His defense is probably the weakest part of his game, though. Michael Brandon was just a relief pitcher I knew nothing about in the draft. He is just okay. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to make it up there to the MLB level eventually. And then Tobias Mendez was an 18-year-old who I didn't know much about either. He ends up being C potential, only 48 overall. I don't really see a big future for him. Looking at the other team's draft picks, I want to see if we find any obviously generational prospects that we may have missed. But looking at the teams in our division, how about the Wranglers? They drafted Ivan Lerma in the first round. He was a 20-year-old prospect. He ends up being a potential 64 overall. We did not even scout him, so he ends up being very, very good for the Wranglers and probably their best draft pick so far here in this series. The Guardians draft Abraham Guardado. He looks pretty good, but he's only C potential, like 71 overall and C potential. At least our first pick, our first 2 were B potential guys. JJ Humphries, who we had kind of, touted as maybe our 3rd pick, but he ended up going to the White Sox in the first round. And then the guy that our scouts said was the top prospect goes to the Giants at number 2 overall. He ends up being 89 potential and 68 overall, a much better hitter than what I had scouted with my scouts. So I'm actually surprised that he's actually that good. But the Giants choose 89 potential and 88 potential in back-to-back picks. Looking around the rest of the MLB, Johnny Santiago was a guy that we had scouted. he was a B potential. And then Ray Ramirez was the other pitcher we were deciding against, or deciding for that number 1 pick. And he ends up being 62 overall and 85 potential. So I think we won as far as the decision between those two. And then you throw in the third guy, who was Alfonso Cortez, who I ruled out really late at the end of scouting in probably like week 13, 14, because I just kind of narrowed it down to Ray Ramirez and our guy Terrell as well. And I think that we picked the best guy out of those 3. But we did miss on a big prospect here in Jose Acevedo. I think he was the best prospect all around in the draft. He goes to the Mariners. He is 69 overall and a high B potential. Andres Villafuerte ends up being 18 years old and a 75 overall player right now, and his hitting attributes are amazing. He's going to be an excellent player for the Rangers. So I did not think he was first round material because I knew he was going to probably be C potential, but I decided to pass on him. But maybe another guy we really should have went after was Luis Villarreal, who ended up going to the Cubs, 64 overall, 93 potential. Then the number 2 rated MLB ranked prospect in the draft ends up being 75 potential and 61 overall, who goes to the Rockies. So the trade deadline was pretty nuts. I mean, there were a lot of trades. Now, one thing about the save, when the game did not save the last trade with the Indians, so not the Indians, wow, the Guardians. The Guardians do not get that trade with Luis Robert from the White Sox. I'm actually pretty glad, because that was probably unrealistic. Like, why would the White Sox trade in division to help out the Guardians? So that trade did not happen. They still do have the shortstop from the Brewers as well, and Willy Adames. That trade still went through. But I want to check out another trade which went through. How about the Wranglers picking up a young shortstop in Jose Salas? But he's still got a few years of development, but at least now I see the Wranglers starting to build towards the future. They had a good draft pick with the number 1 overall pick. And another big trade that went down, Chris Bryant went to the Cardinals for a prospect, so he will be one of their highest paid guys as well. But they already paid out Andrew Benintendi, so I'm actually pretty surprised at that. Tyler O'Neill is hurt, so that's probably why they did it, but still an interesting move nonetheless. So now we get into the first action here of this episode as we take on the San Francisco Giants, who are 10 games over 500 and one of the best teams in the NL West. Obviously, the Dodgers are there also, so they are looking to really, get a wild card spot more than likely. Here is what their lineup looks like. Luis Gonzalez hitting in that 2 spot is the only player hitting over 300 for them. Mitch Haniger in that 3 spot hitting 260. And here's what our team looks like at this point. Paulo Reyes is the leader for AL Rookie of the Year. He's hitting 259. Ian Happ still hitting amazingly right now, 331. And how about Lane Thomas hitting in that 5 spot at 290? So we pretty much trade production for production. We get a lot younger from Brandon Crawford, who is hitting the ball well, but we get Lane Thomas, who is a really good defensive outfielder as well. So here we start the first inning. Jake Odorizzi on the mound facing Estrada, who goes to right center field. Thomas with a really good arm and right, which I'm really going to enjoy. Gets it into the cutoff man, but a leadoff double here for the Giants. Jake Odorizzi was signed in the offseason last season, as he does get 1 out here from Luis Gonzalez, who's hitting 300 on the year. It brings up Mitch Haniger, who hits one well to the left side. That one gets over the glove of Connor Wiegman playing back at third base. And the Giants strike first. It's 1-0 in the top of the first inning. J.D. Davis at the plate. Chopper up the middle. This one gets past the glove of Peguero. And another base hit here in the first inning. Odorizzi in a little bit of trouble early on. Marco Luciano comes to the plate now with 2 outs. He hits one well to left center. That's going to get to the gap. Tapia will have to chase this one down, but not before 2 runs come in to score. And the Giants take the 3-0 lead here in the first inning. And the Heralds are going to have their work cut out in this one if Odorizzi is going to give up hits like this. But that one was just an inside pitch, and Luciano turned on it. They're already down to their 8th hitter in the lineup. This one's going to be Nito, who hits one to the right side, and that one will be run down by Lane Thomas. And now we move on to the bottom half of the first. Logan Webb on the mound, 10-6 record ERA of 4.40 and a whip at 129. He's pitching pretty average, I would say, but getting some wins. Here is Ian Happ, our lone all-star, coming to the plate. Hitting in that leadoff spot as always. He hits one well to the right side, and what's new? A leadoff single here for Ian Happ. This has turned out to be a very, very good signing for us. He's signed for the next 3 years. Raimel Tapia hits one to second base, and the throw will be on to first. No double play ball on that one. Here is Paulo Reyes at the plate, hitting .259 on the year. That one was right over the middle of the plate, and he just missed it. A high pop up to right field. That will hold the runner at second. And now that brings up Seth Beer, who's hitting the ball well this year so far, hitting .270 on the year. This one's deep to left field, but it hangs up in the air. And it will be the third out of the inning. Here is Lane Thomas at the plate here in the bottom of the second inning. I really think he's going to be a really good player for the Arrows in the future and the now, I guess. And that one will be an inside pitch, a slider on the inside corner called strike 3. Here is Connor Wiegman at the plate now. He is our number 2 rated prospect in the organization, at least ranked prospect. He hits one to first base. It's a pop-up. Easy out here in the infield. Pat Washington to the plate now with one out. That one will be a inside slider taken for ball 4. Anytime Washington gets on first and Ian Happ comes up next, you know we're going to swipe this bag, and that will be a throw in time, and Pat Washington just gets around the tag, and Ian Happ continues this at bat. Ball 4, probably a smart pitch right there. That brings up Raimel Tapia to the plate now. He gets one up in the zone. That one's driven deep to right field, but it's going to hang up there a while. Pat Washington is going to tag up. And now we have runners on the corners with 2 outs. Paulo Reyes back at the plate now. Inside slider, strike 3. He can't make contact with that one. That one was slightly out of the zone. And San Francisco is cruising through the first 5 innings. No runs surrendered. Odorizzi does settle down a little bit, facing the middle of their order, facing J.D. Davis now with 2 outs in the top of the 5th inning. Ground ball to Peguero, easy throw onto first base. So that's going to bring us to the second half of this matchup here. We bring in a relief pitcher, Luke Farrell, who actually has very good attributes as far as hits per 9 and strikeouts per 9, very high there, but only 56 overall. But I had moved him up after the trades we made, especially freeing up a rotation spot. So I decided to move him up from AAA to see what he's got. And he was actually very, very impressive. Here he gets a swinging strike 3 on a check swing in the dirt. It brings up Colton Welker to the plate. Ground ball to second. 3 up, 3 down here in the 6th inning as we move on to the 7th. Facing Dirk Mock at the plate. He hits one well down the right side, and that one will be the first hit given up by Farrell this year, as that will be into the corner. Thomas throws to the cutoff man, and with 86 speed, that's going to be a triple. Dirk Mock with a 1-out triple here in the 7th. Let's see if Farrell can get out of this one. This is Thairo Estrada to the plate, and that one will be a swinging miss at a slider. 2 outs. Luis Gonzalez, and he paints the corner. A called strike 3. 2 impressive innings from Farrell as we move on to the bottom of the 8th inning. Ian Happ hits one hard to left side. That one will be caught. Bringing up Paulo Reyes and a check swing, and he goes around. And now we move into the 9th inning. They bring in Amir Garrett here for the last inning. This isn't counted as a save, but bringing in their closer nonetheless. Garrett gets a fly ball to left field from Seth Beer for the first out of the inning. Bringing up Lane Thomas, another inside pitch. Good timing on the swing, but just under it for the second out of the 9th. And the Arrows are down to their last out here. Francisco Mejia 0 for 3 up to this point. Inside pitch, and he chases it. That one will be the third out, and that will be the game. The Giants come into our building and win 4-0 here on the road. A good victory there for Logan Webb on the mound. He really shut down our lineup. We only had 3 hits today, and we were shut out. They had 9, and they get the victory here for another win in the win column for them. They are the leaders in the NL wildcard chase. So we get through the beginning of the month of August here. We sim the first series here versus the Giants. We drop 2 of 3. We win the opener there in the month of August at Pittsburgh 2-1. We end up simming one game at Cleveland. We lose 5-1, but I want to get into this matchup here with Cleveland. They are the leaders in the clubhouse here in the AL Central, but as far as division leaders in the AL, they are the worst team by record. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be looking to improve on that, and that's probably why they made those trades there at the deadline, to probably try to get some home field advantage, as it looks like they are probably the best team in the Central and will run away with the division. They did put Josh Naylor on the trade block at the deadline as well. I was very surprised by that, because Josh Bell is going to be a free agent next year, so I don't understand that logic at all, but they retain both, and Josh Bell will be a free agent either way. I just don't think they will be re-signing him. I guess we'll have to see, but I don't think so. Obviously, they built this team around Jose Ramirez, but Willy Adames is now another player. Will they re-sign him, because he is under contract just for this season, but he is hitting 289, a career high, 381. It's always funny. The guys that get traded are the guys that are hitting amazingly, kind of like Brandon Crawford, like we did, but that's a very big pickup by the Guardians, and it could propel them to a World Series. Who knows? So we will face the Guardians here on the road. We are still like only 9 games under 500, which is an excellent achievement here for this Arrows team, because like I said, we are in the middle of a full rebuild. We are not expected to compete at all, but here we are, really in the middle of, the AL. Probably not competing for a wild card spot, but let's see if we can get a win versus the AL Central's best. Ian Happ starts out this game with a grounder up the middle off of Aaron Savale, who gets to start for the Guardians. Here is Paulo Reyes at the plate. He hits one right up into the sky, and that one is the second out of the inning. I moved the lineup around this game a little bit, putting Reyes at the 2 spot and then moving Seth Beard to the 3 spot. So here he comes to the plate, hitting 272. He gets one over the middle of the plate just late, or just a pop fly to center field in a 1-2-3 inning here for the Guardians. Top 2 now is going to be Francisco Mejia at the plate. He's got the average up a little bit, up to 246. That one is going to be the first hit of the game for the Arrows, and now we have a base runner here with 2 outs. Liover Peguero's hitting 262 on the year. He's actually hitting pretty well in his first full year at the majors, but that one will be a line out to right field. Oscar Gonzalez comes up in the bottom of the second inning off of Jordan Montgomery. That one will be a single, as Montgomery has been pitching pretty well so far since signing him to that 3-year deal. That brings up Jake Fraley to the plate. He hits one to left center. That one gets to the wall, and it will score 1. And the Cleveland Guardians will strike first in this one. It's 1-0. Jordan Montgomery has been very, very good about not giving up many hits so far this season, as that brings up Eduardo Escobar, who hits one well up the middle, fielded by Ian Happ, thrown on to first for the second out of the inning, bringing up Tom Murphy, hitting only 195 on the year. He hits one deep to center field. Pat Washington, just a can of corn. As we move on to the bottom of the third inning, the middle of the lineup up for the Guardians again. Miles Straw at the plate, but look at that pitch right there, located on the inside half. And the circle change freezes him, bringing up Jose Ramirez with 2 outs, and he swings and misses at the outside sinker. And we will be down 1-0 as we move on to the top of the 4th inning. Here is Paulo Reyes, who's got excellent patience at the plate, which is why he is such a good hitter for the Arrows this season. Seth Beard comes up. He hits one well to left side. That one gets through the infield. And now we have men on first and second, no outs. That brings up Tyrone Johnson, who got the start in left field today. We'll see what he can do in the 4 spot. He gets a hanger up in the zone. That one struck down the left field line. It will score 1. Johnson will round first and head to second. And now we have men on first, actually second and third, with no outs here in the top of the 4th inning. Johnson has unlimited power from the right side of the plate. We already know that, but he's going to strike out a lot. So can he clean that up and maybe become a corner outfielder? We'll have to see. Lane Thomas comes to the plate. He hits one well to left field. That one's back at the track. It knocks off of the wall. Both Johnson and Reyes will score, and it is now a 3-1 game. So now Lane Thomas comes into this lineup, and we know he can hit the ball well. He's having a career high in average and OPS. Leover Peguero comes in, and he hits one down the left field line. That one snuck over the glove of the third baseman, Jose Ramirez, and Lane Thomas has 90 speed. He comes in to score. I'm not sure actually how Lane Thomas has 90 speed because it's listed that he has 86. So maybe it's just a matter of morale. I'm not exactly sure. But the manager has seen enough from Savale. They already pull him quickly in this one. Maybe they think that these are just important games versus the Arrows because these are the easy ones that they need to win. And Kenta Maeda comes into the game here out of the bullpen, and he will face Connor Wiegman. Wiegman with one out. He hits one to right field, and he's just late on that swing, but he gets under it. I got to see Wiegman hit a lot better than what he's doing in order to really stick at the MLB level next season. But like I said, I'm not going to move him up and down this year. Pat Washington to the plate. He's been actually hitting pretty well in that 9 spot. I really like what he does, and he will draw the walk. So that's probably the wrong move to make because that brings up the hottest hitter in probably all of AL. Here is Ian Happ. He hits one up the middle. That one is going to be a single. Pat Washington rounds second really hard. He tries to get back to the base, and he will get thrown out at second, but a 5-run inning for the Arrows. Jake Fraley, who had the RBI double earlier, that one will be a swinging strike 3. Montgomery still dealing. Now with 2 outs, Tom Murphy, he's going down as well. On the inside cut fastball, Montgomery was untouchable after that first inning. On to the bottom of the 9th inning, still a 5-1 game. Eduardo Escobar, he's going to sit, and that's a 5-1 victory on the road here for the Arrows. So a great way to end this episode with a great win versus the number 1 team in the AL Central. Jordan Montgomery pitched great. We had some great offensive performances, especially from Lane Thomas, Pat Washington, and then we saw some power from Tyrone Johnson. Hopefully he can really pick up his bat down the stretch. So we are 54-61. And we are playing really good baseball. Like, I did not think we were going to be competitive this year. We are still in the middle of this rebuild, obviously. I think we'll be a lot better even next season because we'll have the young guys up. We'll have probably one of the 2 young shortstops at the MLB level also. And then we'll see what our draft picks can do. Maybe, some guys could go straight to the pros. We already know we see some potential with our young players this year, like Paulo Reyes. It wouldn't hurt to have more young guys at the show. So let me know what you guys think of those draft picks and also, what you think of this team. This is just an interesting team. 54-61 in a rebuild. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better season. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Next episode will be September call-ups, and we will get to see, like I said, a lot of young guys play getting moved up. So hope you guys have a good evening. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.